My boyfriend planned every detail of making me happy because he was running out of time. I only figured it out when I saw his Google Calendar and realized every reminder was a goodbye. I never expected one ordinary Saturday to break the rhythm of my life. Nothing dramatic happened. No screaming, no fight, no storm waiting outside the window. Just silence, quiet and heavy. The kind of silence that almost warns you something is about to change forever. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years. Our relationship wasn't dramatic or chaotic. No wild jealousy, no constant breakups, no emotional fireworks. Just comfort, warmth, safety. Sometimes I thought maybe our love wasn't exciting enough, but excitement is easy. Warmth is rare. At least that's what I always told myself. That Saturday morning, he forgot his phone before leaving for work. It never happened before. Daniel was the kind of guy who double-checked everything. Keys, wallet, phone, lunch, kisses. Always in that order. So when the phone buzzed on the sofa, I smiled thinking maybe he'd left it for me to find and send a cute selfie to him. I picked it up. My phone didn't recognize his face, so it opened directly to the last screen he was on. A calendar. His calendar. Filled from top to bottom with reminders, notifications, alerts, color-coded timelines. I almost laughed because Daniel loved planning everything. Dinner schedules, gym sessions, laundry days, even reminders to water the plants. So I thought this was just another one of those harmless organizational things. Then I saw one reminder. Make her smile today. My heart melted instantly. I clicked it thinking it was sweet text, maybe a date plan. Instead, it opened to a note. She cried last night. I need to make sure today feels lighter for her. I froze. I didn't cry last night in front of him. I cried in the bathroom after watching a sad video online. I never told him. He must have heard me maybe through the door and didn't say anything. Next reminder. Buy her favorite snacks on the way home. And again, another note. Whenever she gets quiet, she loves salty chips and lemon soda. Don't forget. My throat got tight. This wasn't planning. This wasn't routine. This was love in its purest, careful form. Then the third reminder came, and everything inside me shifted. Don't let her know I'm sick. For a moment, I didn't breathe. It felt unreal. Like I read wrong, so I clicked it. Doctor appointment Monday. Symptoms increasing. Do not cancel date with her. She deserves happiness. She doesn't need to worry. My hands shook. I sat down slowly. Every part of me was trembling. I scrolled past days and months and weeks, and the reminders kept coming. Act normal even if tired. Do not tell her about test results. She deserves peace, not fear. That was the moment everything broke. Would you continue scrolling through the calendar or wait to talk to him first? I wanted to stop reading, I really did. But curiosity has a strange way of turning into fear, and fear has a way of turning into desperation. My thumb kept scrolling even while my mind begged me to look away. The next reminder was scheduled for that very day. Pick up medication before she wakes up. Medication. Not vitamins, not supplements. Medication. The word felt heavy in my chest like something was pressing against my ribs from the inside. I clicked the note. If the side effects get worse, do not let her notice. Wear long sleeves. Drink water often. Hold her hand more so she feels safe. Long sleeves. Suddenly, memories hit me like quick flashes. Daniel wearing jackets indoors saying he was cold even when the weather was warm. Rolling down his shirt sleeves when I walked into the room. Laughing through headaches. Leaning against walls when he thought I wasn't watching. How much pain did he swallow, just so I wouldn't worry? I scrolled more. If she asks why I'm tired, say work is stressful. If she asks why I'm losing weight, say it's the gym. If she asks why I don't eat much, say I already ate. I wanted to scream. Not because he lied, but because he was dealing with all of this alone. Because he thought he had to protect me instead of letting me protect him too. Then I saw something that shattered me even more. In case of collapse call. And instead of 911, it listed a number titled Doctor Direct Line. My breath disappeared. Not caught disappeared. Who has a direct line to a doctor unless something serious is happening? Next reminder. Start leaving little memories for her. The note beneath it had a list. Her favorite flowers on Monday. Breakfast in bed this Saturday. Pictures together every week. Leave notes in her books. More hugs, more time, more moments. My tears fell without warning. So this was why the past few months felt unusually perfect. Why he kept planning picnics, movie nights, surprise dinners. Why he kept touching my face like he was memorizing it. Why every weekend he'd smile like he was storing the moment inside himself forever. He wasn't trying to improve the relationship. He was running out of time with me. And while I kept dreaming about our future, he was preparing for a future where he wasn't there. I placed his phone against my chest and curled up on the sofa. Time didn't move. The room didn't move. I didn't move. I just kept replaying the reminders in my mind. Make her smile today. Buy her favorite snacks. Don't let her know I'm sick. Leave memories for her. He thought his job was to protect me from the truth. But all I could think was, how much pain did he go through without letting me share even a little part of it? I didn't want to wait for him to come home. I didn't want to sit calmly and pretend. I didn't want to hold this secret alone for even one more breath. I needed to confront him, but I also wasn't ready. Because once I asked the question, the answer would become real. If you were in her place, would you confront him immediately or pretend you didn't know until you were ready? I kept rehearsing what I would say when he came home. I kept imagining myself looking him in the eyes, demanding answers, refusing to let him pretend anymore. But when the front door opened, nothing inside me matched my imagination. He walked in with that familiar soft smile holding a paper bag and a bottle of lemon soda. My favorite. He didn't even say hello first. He just placed the bag on the table and said, in that gentle voice of his, I thought maybe you needed something good today. Those words broke whatever strength I believed I had. I wanted to be angry, to shout, to accuse him of lying. But when he stepped closer and kissed the side of my forehead, the world became quiet and heavy again. The same quiet I felt when I first opened his phone. I forced myself to speak, but my voice didn't sound like mine. It was shaky small. Daniel, are you okay? For a split second, his smile faded. Just half a second. But I saw it. He took a slow breath, then cupped my face and whispered, of course I'm okay. Why wouldn't I be? He lied without hesitation. Not out of malice, but out of habit, out of survival, out of love. It hurt more than truth ever could. I sat down on the sofa because my legs were trembling. He sat beside me holding my hand, rubbing circles on my thumb like he always did when he sensed I was overwhelmed. It made everything harder. I tried again. Are you sick? This time he froze completely. His hand stopped moving. His eyes stayed locked on mine, but they weren't calm anymore. There was fear. Not fear of illness, fear of losing control of the secret fear of hurting me. Why would you think that? He whispered, almost begging me to say I was wrong. I swallowed hard. My chest felt too tight to breathe because I saw your calendar. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't drop his hand. He just stayed perfectly still, like someone hit pause on his body, but not his heart. I felt his pulse racing through our intertwined fingers. You weren't supposed to see that. He finally said, his voice barely there. He didn't sound angry. He sounded defeated. I asked quietly, why didn't you tell me? He leaned back, his eyes glistening a little, but he refused to let a tear fall. He shook his head slowly, like the answer should have been obvious. Because loving you means protecting you from pain? I started crying right then, not because he hid it, but because he carried all of it alone. The hospitals, the medication, the fear, the exhaustion, the countdown. And while I lived in peace, he lived in silence. He wiped my tears with his thumbs and whispered again and again like he was trying to protect me even during the confrontation. You don't need this burden. You don't need to worry. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to smile. Every word he said was love, but every word also stabbed deeper. I didn't want perfect or peaceful or protected. I wanted the truth. I wanted to fight with him, not after him. So I looked at him through my own tears and said, the words he wasn't ready to hear. You don't get to leave me out of this. Should love mean shielding someone from pain or facing the pain together? The moment I said you don't get to leave me out of this, something in his eyes changed. Not anger, not frustration, not denial. Just fear. Pure fear. The kind someone feels when they realize they can't protect the person they love anymore. Daniel looked away for the first time. He always looked me in the eyes during serious conversations. But now he stared at the floor like he was ashamed of breathing. I slipped my fingers into his hands, forcing him to feel I was there with him, and whispered, tell me the truth, please. It took him almost a full minute to speak. The longest minute of my life. I have a heart condition. My body went cold instantly. My breath stopped. I didn't even blink. Heart condition could mean anything. Dangerous, manageable, mild, deadly. I didn't know. I didn't want to know, but I had to. What kind? What does it mean? How serious is it? I asked all at once because panic doesn't care about pacing. He squeezed my hands gently before answering. It's genetic. I was diagnosed 2 years ago. My heart muscles are weakening faster than expected. Sometimes they respond to treatment, sometimes they don't. There's no permanent solution. He told it like a rehearsed speech. Not a single break in his voice, not a single sign of panic. Like he had already accepted it long before I ever knew. Like he had grown numb to fear so I wouldn't have to feel it. I asked why he didn't tell me earlier. He finally looked up and said quietly, I didn't want you to live every day waiting for something to go wrong. I shook my head, tears dropping again. I would rather live scared with you than safe without you. He closed his eyes like those words hurt and comforted him at the same time. His voice trembled for the first time when he said, you're not meant to spend your youth taking care of someone who's falling apart. His hands dropped from mine. He stood up and walked a few steps away because he didn't want me to see how much he was breaking. But I stood too and wrapped my arms around him from behind, pressing my face into his back because I needed him to feel I wasn't going anywhere. He whispered, you deserve someone who has a future. My voice cracked so hard it barely came out. You are my future. He turned around and finally let the tears fall. He didn't sob loudly. He cried silently the same way he loved, quiet, gentle, selfless. The kind of crying that destroys you because you know he is hurting not for himself but for you. He pulled me close like he was afraid to lose me, even while believing he eventually would. His heartbeat echoed weakly against my chest, and suddenly, I understood the calendar, the reminders, the perfect dates, the careful memories. He wasn't preparing to leave me. He was preparing me to live without him. I held his face in my hands and whispered through every tear I had, you're not doing this alone anymore. He didn't answer with words. He just buried his face in my neck and held me like someone drowning who finally found air. Is it love or selfishness to try to protect someone by shutting them out of the struggle? The next morning felt different, not because anything dramatic happened, but because the silence between us had changed. Before the truth, silence felt peaceful. Now it felt heavy, like we were both afraid to breathe the wrong way. I didn't want that distance. I wanted a new rhythm where I was part of everything, even the hardest parts. So I woke up earlier than usual and stayed in bed, watching him sleep. He looked exhausted even in rest. His fingers twitched slightly like he was dreaming about something he couldn't escape. I brushed my hand through his hair gently and whispered, you don't have to fight alone anymore. He woke up slowly, his eyes still swollen from crying the night before. When he saw me looking at him, his first reaction wasn't panic or fear, it was apology. He whispered, I'm sorry. I shook my head. You don't ever have to apologize for being human. He pulled me closer and held me so tightly I felt his heartbeat, slow, uneven, fragile. It made everything real in a way words could never do. I asked him if he had an appointment soon. He hesitated, then admitted he did. That same day, in 2 hours, he said quietly, you don't have to come if you don't want to. I answered instantly, I want to come to all of them. He looked at me like I had given him something sacred. Not comfort, not relief, but something deeper. Permission to be weak in front of someone. Permission to not be the strong one all the time. The hospital was cold and smelled like disinfectant. The hallways echoed with machines and footsteps and conversations nobody wanted to have. Daniel walked like he was used to it, like he knew every corner, every elevator, every nurse. I hated that. I hated that this world had already become familiar to him. The doctor greeted him with concern in her eyes, not surprise. Another thing that hurt. She knew him too well. She gave him updates about his medications while looking directly at him until Daniel interrupted and said, talk to both of us. The doctor nodded and explained everything in careful, slow words. His condition had periods of stability and periods of decline. Treatments could help, but unpredictably. Stress could trigger complications. Overexertion could be dangerous. And then she said something that replayed in my mind all day. You can't live like nothing is happening. You need to pace your life wisely. He glanced at me immediately, like he was afraid I'd think. Loving him meant sacrificing my happiness, but I took his hand first and placed it on my lap so he would feel anchored to me, not to fear. On the way back home, he apologized again for bringing me into something dark. I shook my head and spoke without thinking. Love is not supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to be real. For the first time since the truth came out, he smiled without forcing it. Not big, not bright, but real. A small, soft smile that felt like a promise that he was allowing me into the part of his life he never wanted me to see. When we reached home, I opened his calendar, deleted every reminder about hiding his symptoms, and replaced them one by one. You're not alone today. Rest is not weakness. Let her take care of you too. We are a team, not a farewell. When he saw it, he didn't say a word. He just hugged me and I felt his tears soaking into my shoulder. This time he wasn't crying because he was scared of hurting me. He was crying because he finally believed I wasn't going anywhere. If taking care of someone you love meant changing your entire lifestyle, would you still choose them? For a few weeks, life became quieter, not sad quieter. Like everything we did had more meaning because we finally stopped running from reality. We built routines without calling them routines. I'd sit with him while he took his medication. He'd rest his head on my lap on the harder days. We'd cook together on the good days, even if he got tired halfway and sat on the floor laughing while I finished the sauce. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Every night before sleeping, he held my hand like it was the anchor keeping him here. And every morning, I checked his breathing without letting him know. Loving someone who is sick teaches you how to be gentle in ways you never imagined. And loving someone while being sick teaches them how to let themselves be loved. Pain always finds its way back. It started one evening while we were watching a movie. His head was on my shoulder, his palm warming mine. I thought he fell asleep because he suddenly got very still. Then I heard it, a low, frustrated breath. Not tired, frustrated. He sat up slowly, gripping his chest lightly like he was trying to hide it but couldn't. Are you okay? I asked, already feeling the fear rising. Yeah, I'm just tired, he said too quickly. Too practiced, too calm. I took his hand away from his chest gently and whispered, no more hiding, not from me. Please. His eyes softened with guilt and exhaustion. He nodded silently and leaned into me like he needed my body to keep him steady. His breathing was shallow. I rubbed his back in slow circles the same way he always did for me when I had panic attacks. After a few minutes, the pain eased. He smiled faintly and said, thank you for not panicking. I answered with something I didn't think through until it came out. I don't panic when you're hurting. I panic when you hide it. He stared at me for a few seconds like that sentence rearranged something inside him. Then he did something he'd never done before. He told me the exact truth. My chest feels heavy, like my heart is working too hard. I don't know if it will get worse tonight or go away, but I don't want to go to the hospital yet. Can you just stay with me? Him asking for help was the bravest thing I had ever seen. We turned off the movie, the lights, the noise, and sat on the living room floor. He rested his head on my shoulder again. My fingers brushed through his hair slowly until his breathing evened out. He wasn't asleep, just calmer. And I realized something: love doesn't cure illness, but it makes survival bearable. Later that night, something even deeper happened. He woke me gently and whispered, I'm scared. Those two words felt heavier than any diagnosis. He wasn't afraid of pain or medication or hospitals. He was afraid of time, of running out, of leaving me, of being remembered as a heartbreak instead of a love story. I took his face in both hands and said softly, you are not my tragedy, you are my favorite chapter. He didn't cry, he didn't speak. He just wrapped his arms around me and held on like he finally allowed himself to need someone. Somewhere in the quiet, I realized a powerful truth. We weren't waiting for something bad to happen. We were choosing each other every single day, no matter what. And that was a kind of forever, too. Do you think love can truly make someone feel safer even when nothing about life is certain? Life never warns you when it is about to break. It doesn't give you a sign or a countdown. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, be ready. It just happens. And suddenly the world you know becomes something unrecognizable. It was a Saturday evening, one of the good days. Daniel had enough energy to help me cook. He stood behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist while I chopped vegetables, singing off-key on purpose just to make me laugh. For a few hours, the illness didn't exist. There was no fear, no medication, no reminders. There was just him and me and warmth. We ate dinner on the balcony. He joked about how he could totally run a marathon someday, and I rolled my eyes because even walking up the stairs made him tired. He laughed anyway. God, I loved that laugh. I wanted to hear it every day for the rest of my life. Around 10 p.m., he said he wanted to take a shower. I stayed in the kitchen cleaning up, humming the song he had been ruining all night. I didn't hear anything at first, just the water. Then the sound stopped. Then a thud. My heart froze. I called his name. No answer. I ran to the bathroom door, knocking hard, panic filling every part of me. Daniel, are you okay? Open the door, please. Answer me. Silence. I didn't think I just acted. I grabbed the spare key, opened the door, and there he was, collapsed next to the shower. Weak breaths escaping his lips, his skin too pale, too damp, too still. I fell to my knees, shaking him, calling his name over and over, like the sound of it could bring him back to me. He opened his eyes only halfway, his voice barely a whisper. I'm okay. Don't cry. I'm okay. But he wasn't okay, and I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I called the emergency number with shaking hands, the world moving too fast and too slow at the same time. I kept holding his hand the whole time, repeating one sentence like a prayer, like a promise. I'm right here. I'm not leaving. I'm right here. The paramedics arrived. Everything became noise, voices, lights, shoes, rushing stretchers, beeping machines. They lifted him and placed him on the stretcher. He looked terrified, but not for himself, for me. Even then, even collapsed, even gasping, he whispered, I'm sorry you have to go through this. And my heart shattered, because even at his weakest, he was still trying to protect me. At the hospital, they rushed him into a treatment room. A nurse stopped me from following, and I felt like someone ripped me out of my own body. I pressed my hands to the closed doors, begging silently, begging loudly, begging for time, for mercy for him. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like years. I sat in the waiting room, staring at the floor, unable to breathe, unable to think, unable to exist. Every love story has a moment when everything stands on an edge, and this was ours. The moment where the world decided whether it would break us or make us stronger. I didn't know what was happening behind those doors. I didn't know if the last thing he would remember was collapsing alone on the cold bathroom tiles. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. If I lost him that night, a part of me would never learn how to live again. If the person you love fainted or collapsed, would you panic or stay strong in front of them? I don't know how long I sat on the living room floor clutching that shirt, breathing his scent, replaying every small act of love he had done, while silently falling apart inside. Time didn't exist. Only the sound of my heartbeat and the question that burned. Why didn't he trust me enough to tell me? Why did he think he had to face all of this alone? Eventually, I wiped my face, stood up and walked to the bedroom because I knew there was one more thing I had avoided: his laptop. He never hid it, and he didn't password protect anything, so it was not invading privacy anymore. It was trying to understand the man I loved, the man who was fighting something bigger than both of us. I opened the laptop and the home screen loaded with a soft humming sound. His wallpaper was a picture of me asleep on the couch, hair, messy blanket half on me the day I was sick from work. He had taken that picture because I kept losing consciousness but wouldn't go to the hospital. He stayed awake all night watching me. I didn't even know I stared at that photo, and my chest tightened again because this was him. Always giving, always guarding, always loving in the quiet ways. I opened the calendar app. At first, the regular reminders filled the screen. Buy her favorite muffin, blueberry. Plan surprise date Sunday. Compliment her at lunch break. I scrolled down expecting more of the same, but then I saw oncology appointment 3 p.m. Blood tests. Scan result day. Don't let her see stress. My hand shook. I clicked on the day he fainted at work. The note said, chest pain worse. Do not worry her. She has interview tomorrow. I sank into the chair in silence as more notifications popped up. Some were 2 months old, some 2 weeks, some 1 day away. Tell her if results get worse. Don't be selfish. And right under that one, but don't ruin her happiness if she's smiling. That broke me completely. He wasn't hiding because he didn't trust me. He was hiding because his love was so selfless he would rather drown alone than let me feel an ounce of fear. The love that once made me feel protected suddenly felt like a knife because it meant he had been suffering alone on purpose. I searched every folder until I found a document titled, "In case I can't say it one day." My fingers trembled. Opening it, inside was a letter. The first line made my breath stop. If you're reading this, it means I'm too weak or gone, and I hate both options equally. I covered my mouth to silence the scream forming in my throat. The letter continued, I wanted to give you love, not pain. I wanted you to remember happiness when you think of me, not hospitals and fear. Tears streamed again, but this time not only from heartbreak, but from something deeper, something fierce. Because I realized he had already decided he was going to disappear before he could become a burden. He didn't understand what he meant to me. He didn't understand that I would have chosen him sick, weak, scared, anything. As long as he was alive and with me, no calendar reminder could measure that, and in that moment, I made a vow. Whether he liked it or not, whether he pushed me away or not, I was not losing him without a fight. Even if I had to drag him back into life with my own hands, because love isn't protecting someone from pain. Love is walking through the pain together. Tonight, I would confront him, not with anger, but with everything he was too scared to believe. Do you think he was right to hide his illness to protect her happiness? Or should he have told her from the beginning? I didn't sleep. I sat awake the whole night rehearsing what I would say to him, practicing different versions of honesty, love, anger, heartbreak. But every version ended with the same sentence. You don't have to go through this alone anymore. Around 6 a.m., I heard the front door quietly unlock. He walked in slowly, like someone dragging exhaustion behind them. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes dull, like all the light inside him had been used to pretend he was okay in front of the world. He saw me sitting on the couch and froze. He already knew. His face said everything before a word was spoken. Why are you awake? He whispered, voice hoarse like he hadn't spoken all night. I didn't answer his question. I only held up the printed calendar pages, the appointment dates, the reminders, the list of symptoms he tried to hide. His face crumbled instantly and he sank onto the floor like his knees gave up. No, you weren't supposed to see that, he choked. That wasn't meant for you. Not yet. Maybe never. I got off the couch and sat in front of him. For the first time in months, he didn't look away. His eyes begged for forgiveness, but also begged to not be a burden. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Because I love you too much. He shook his head, staring at the ground. I can take pain. I can take fear. But I can't take the idea of being the reason you cry. You deserve someone who brings light, not someone fading in front of you. I grabbed his hands before he could pull away, and I said each word slowly so he couldn't run from them. You do not get to decide what I deserve. You do not get to choose to disappear to protect me. You don't get to love me silently while dying alone. He finally broke. Tears rushed out of him like a dam collapsing. All this time, he fought so hard to never look weak in front of me. Now weakness poured out, and it wasn't ugly. It was honest. It was human. It was love. I didn't want you to see me like this, he sobbed. I wanted to be strong for you. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want you to watch me get sicker. You are not a burden, I said fiercely. You can fall apart, and I'll hold the pieces. You can be scared, and I'll sit with you. You can lose strength, and I'll lend you mine. That's what love is. He leaned into me like he had been holding weight for months and suddenly didn't have to anymore. I held him tightly, stroking his hair, whispering over and over, I'm here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Eventually, he whispered, the scan results are tomorrow. Not hiding, not protecting, just confessing. It was the first time he invited me into his fear, instead of shielding me from it. My answer was immediate. I'm going with you. He opened his mouth to argue. I shook my head. No more secrets, no more suffering alone. We face this together, whatever it is. He didn't nod. He didn't speak. He just rested his forehead on mine and let the silence say everything. Tomorrow could change everything. But one thing was already certain. He wouldn't be walking into that hospital alone. Do you think he'll accept her support fully from now on? Or will he still hesitate out of fear? The hospital waiting room felt like another universe. Too white, too quiet, too slow. My fingers were locked with his the entire time, and every time someone in a lab coat walked by, he squeezed a little tighter. He was terrified I was too, but fear felt different when shared. Not lighter, just bearable. When his name was called, we stood together. He tried to take a step ahead of me like he always did, shielding me from everything, but I tugged his hand back and gave him a small look. Together, and he nodded. Inside the doctor's office, he sat down stiffly, staring at the floor while I held his arm. The doctor greeted him gently, then opened a folder. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears. The doctor spoke slowly. We got the results of your latest scan, and they show major improvement. The treatment is working far better than expected. For a second, the words didn't register. Then I felt him inhale sharply, not like someone breathing, like someone being given life back. The doctor continued, we're not completely out of danger yet, but right now the disease is responding to treatment. We're moving in the right direction. Tears appeared in his eyes instantly, not the shattering kind from before. These were relief, hope, a future. When we walked out of the room, I expected him to smother his emotions like before, but instead he turned to me, voice trembling, and said, I'm so scared, but I want to live. I want to fight for us. That sentence. Those 8 words meant more than any I love you ever could. I wrapped my arms around him right there in the hallway. People walked past, but the world felt paused. For the first time, he wasn't pretending to be strong. He was choosing to live, choosing to stay, choosing us. The drive home was quiet, not because of silence, but because everything painful had already been spoken. Now we were breathing in the possibility of more days, more mornings, more memories. When we got home, he sat beside me on the bed for a long time. Then he opened the calendar app on his phone and deleted every appointment label that said, hide pain from her. Don't tell her, pretend to be okay. He replaced them one by one with new reminders. Let her come with me to treatment. Tell her how I really feel. Stop trying to disappear. Then he looked at me and said with a soft smile, if I ever start hiding again, remind me that I don't have to be strong alone. I smiled back. You never did. Life isn't magically perfect now. He has good days, bad days, exhausted days, and days where fear creeps back in. But the difference is, he lets me hold his hand through all of it. Love didn't fix everything. It didn't erase illness or fear. But love gave him something to fight for and gave me a chance to stay. Not protected, not shielded, but beside him. And now when I look at our future, I don't see certainty. I see something better. I see hope. And we face it together. What moment in this whole story hit you the hardest emotionally?